Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that would abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, and never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that would abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, and never, in extremity, it asked a crumb of me.
Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests snug as a gun. The pockets of our greatcoats full of barley, no kitchen on the run, no striking camp. We move quick and sudden in our own country. The priest lay behind ditches with the tramp. A people hardly marching on the hike. We found new tactics happening each day. We cut the rein and rider with the pike and stampede cattle into infantry. Then retreat through the hedges where cavalry must be thrown, until on Vinegar Hill, the final conclave. Terror's thousands died, shaking sides at the cannon. The hillside blushed, soaked in our broken wave. It buried us without shroud or coffin. In August, the barley grew up out of our grave. By God, the old man could handle a spade. Between his finger and his thumb, the squat pen rested snug as a gun. Between my finger and my thumb, the prop pen shoots like a passed-on baton. The pockets of our great fathers were once full of barley. Ours are brimming with grains, ingrained in us. These seeds planted bore the first fruits of freedom. We moved quick and sudden in our own country. We still move quick and suddenly. The priest no longer lays behind anything or anyone. We've rescued the tramps with our marches. Marching, we cut through the rains and the rain that plowed silence from infancy. Though Vinegar Hill brought final conclave, and the tiger the Celts reared met its own grave. We could no longer be buried without shroud or coffin. No more the croppies or barley-grown graves. Just people, just fighters, fathers and mothers with names.
Write a poem about anything. Rip the page from the book and make a paper plane. You know, the simple ones we made as children. When I was a kid, I would breathe into the wings of a paper plane like somehow I had the lungs of God. And that must be how he kept planes in the sky. Because even then we knew that living isn't just breathing, but the application of breath. So breathe into yours and let that paper plane poem fly. Believe without questioning that air and words can keep anything alive. For what is God, if not his breath and his words that come to life when the world feels dark and empty? My mirror always gives advice like, consider the big picture, but always pay attention to detail. All my gods don't pay attention to detail. I don't blame them. There's over 7 billion details, so maybe we all don't matter the same. But at some points, we all believe that our breaths could keep planes in the sky. At some points, we all believe that God will make our dreams come true. So today, I'm writing poems, I'm making planes, and taking breaths so deep that the paper ripples from the wind of my lungs. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying. See, men like me, we daydreamers. We're caterpillars trying to be birds, but we'll settle for butterflies. My best friend, she's a tree, planted deep, but reaching for the sky, shedding her leaves in autumn because she knows even the ground needs a blanket from the cold. See, all my gods don't pay attention to detail. But my best friend, she's human and kind, or at least she tries. We still fear the empty in a half-full glass, but we know we need air as much as we need water, so we drink. Half believing we are all gods in charge of our own planes, and we breathe. Half expecting the human in us to always try, but we always, more often than sometimes, leave something in the glass for someone else.
Stop if the car is going clunk, or if the sun has made you blind. Don't answer emails when you're drunk. You fire off something fierce, you're sunk. It's irretrievable. It's signed. You feel your spirits going clunk. Don't hide your face with too much junk, especially if it's old and lined. Don't answer emails when you're drunk. Don't live with 30 years of junk, those precious things you'll never find. Stop if the car is going clunk. Don't fall for an amusing hunk, however rich, unless he's kind. Don't answer emails when you're drunk. In this respect, I'm like a monk. I need some rules to bear in mind. Stop if the car is going clunk. Don't answer emails when you're drunk.
I watched them for a long while, the pair rising and courting the field in daylight, the strange geometry of their faces funneling the air, and everything, their whiteness, their sense of having slipped through from another world, their focus on the hunt. In the end, it all comes down to their silence, the way each feather disperses the air, how each wavers. And I wonder what omen it is to see two barn owls hunting in mid-morning, so quietly secretive. For surely there is something in the slow spread of the wing, the moment of inverted flight, the living thing pulled from the earth and lifted.
She pressed his shirts to her last days, squinting her eyes, facing the ridges that still stood over the years. Stim iron cannot do. She liked the old ways, the iron of coal. It stayed in a cabinet, a jewel, a recipe for her lover. An alloy boxed, a dumbbell's mass shaped like a crocodile's head. Its upper lip pierced, a scroll-like ring fullocking the zigzagged jaw. The handle, a skewt on the alligator. Hot charcoal was placed inside the box for her. Quiet, sitting, a short in hand, she waited for the metal to heat. Then used the iron, the same as a modern one, feeling each layer, the soft skin of her lover. Her back, a bow, her trembling hand, a master. She pressed his shirts to her last days, squinting her eyes, facing the ridges that still stood over the years.
I crossed the embankment path, as always, deferring the bridge. The river nosed past, pliable, oil-skinned, wearing a transfer of gables and sky. Hunched over the railing, well away from the road now, I considered the dirty-keeled swans. Something slobbered, curtly, close, smudging the silence. A rat slimed out of the water, and my throat sickened so quickly that I turned down the path in cold sweat. But God, another was nimbling up the far bank, tracing its wet arcs on the stones. Incredibly, then, I established a dreaded bridgehead. I turned to stare with deliberate, thrilled care at my hitherto snubbed rodent. He clockworked aimlessly a while, stopped, back bunched and glistening, ears plastered down on his knobbed skull, insidiously listening. The tapered tail that followed him, the raindrop eye, the old snout, one by one, I took all in. He trained on me. I stared him out, forgetting how I used to panic when his grey brothers scraped and fed behind the hen coop in our yard, on ceiling boards above my bed. This terror, cold, wet-furred, small-clawed, retreated up a pipe for sewage. I stared a minute after him. And then I walked on and crossed the bridge.
There's a phrase in the Irish language, "Churme béarla air." I put English on it that I find very striking when I'm translating. It's almost, or what it brings to mind to me is the sense of cloaking a language in another language, in a dominant language in this case. And so this sé seo an béarla a chur Lady Gregory ar an dáin seo, this is the English that Lady Gregory has put on this lost poem. The heart of the wood. My hope and my love, we will go for a while into the wood, scattering the dew, where we will see the trout. We will see the blackbird in its nest, the deer and the buck calling, the little bird on the highest branch that sings the sweetest, the cuckoo up on the fresh green, and death will never come near us in the sweet wood.